With summer just around the corner, I thought I'd give you the new changes and trends I'm starting to see in the real estate market. So 2022 started real strong. We had high demand, low supply of homes, prices were keep going up month after month. But as we move into the spring, we started to see some changes. So that's why I said to myself, well, it's time for me to show you the different factors, explain what are the economic factors, the trends that I'm seeing, consumers, interest rates, and all the different factors that are impacting the real estate market. So that's what we're going to look at today. If this is your first time to my channel and you love real estate, having guided tours of properties or having information about the real estate market in Laval and the surrounding areas, considering subscribing and hitting that bell notification so you'll be the first one to receive all the new videos I'll put on the market. My name is Gabriel Laflamme. I've been a realtor since 2009, and every single day I get calls, email, texts from people just like you that are writing in the comments, Gabriel, I have a project, I want to buy or sell a property a month, 6 months, a year from now. If this is your case, well, we're there to help. Just feel free to give us a comment and we'll guide you through the process of buying or selling. The first factor that affects the real estate market, interest rates. Well, just to give you an idea, in January 2022, interest rates on a 5-year term fixed were around 259 to 269, fairly low. Couple of months after that, spring season hit, and right now we're around the 4% mark. If you call all the different bankers, they're at 4% or above, and the trend is moving up. And when I speak to the bankers, they tell me that in the near future, they're seeing the 5% mark and even above the 5%. So there's a lot of buyers that are looking at the different interest rate and are like, oh boy, this is starting to be real high. And they're putting the project of buying a house, or a condo or duplex aside. They're like, for now, I'm not buying anymore. On top of the interest rates, we're having the pre-approval letter. The potential buyers that want to buy a property, they meet with their banker. They get this letter of pre-approval. And this letter normally is good for about 3 months, maybe slightly more, which means that the interest rate is fixed, is frozen for 3 months. And even if the rates go up, well, you can still use the rates you were guaranteed by the bank. But the thing is, if you haven't found your property after 3 months, you go back to the banker, you ask for a brand new pre-approval letter, but the rate that you'll get won't be as nice and low as what you had back in January or December or February. So, for instance, you had this letter of pre-approval at 2.99% or 3%. You go back 3 months later, it's close to 4%. Well, a lot of the buyers are saying, you know what, I'm putting that project aside, and they're like, I'm gonna buy in a year or two from now, I'm gonna keep renting for now. So now the consumers, whenever the interest rate go up, they have to pay more money at the bank at the end of the month. That makes sense for everyone. But now the problem is that the rates have gone up really fast, and they've increased by more than 1% within a quarter or two. So let's just use the example of having a 1% increase in the interest rates, which is exactly what happened in the last couple of weeks. So what does a 1% increase represent in the pockets of the consumer at the end of the month? If you increase by 1%, every $100,000 of mortgage represent $50 that you have to pay more to the bank. So if you have a mortgage of $400,000, well, that represents $50 times 4, around $200 more that you have to pay to the bank for the exact same home that 2 months before you would have paid slightly less because of the interest rates were lower back then. So the interest rate hike affect directly the pockets of the consumer. It makes sense, but it's a huge difference. A $400,000 mortgage with a 1% increase equals $200 plus or minus a few bucks per month that you have to pay extra. Now let's look at the habits of consumers. What we're starting to see this uncertainty with regards to the economy, politics. There's a war. The real estate market is going to the roof. So consumers are looking at everything that's going on in their lives. And a lot of them are telling me, Gabriel, I'm nervous. I'm stressed out with everything that's going on in the world, in my city, in my country, in the economy. So You know what, that explains why my wife and I, we decided to put the project on hold, because, you know, I'm not even sure what's going to happen. The stock market has gone down since the beginning of the year, so we got all those different news that are making us really nervous. So in other words, for now, the project is on hold. So consequently, what we're starting to see less buyers on the market shopping for homes. And when we have open houses, instead of having like 50 people, we're having like just a few couples that are walking by to see the houses. So that explains part of the reason why we're starting to see less buyers walking around, going to see houses, and that's one of the trends we're seeing. Now, with regards to the homes located in the countryside, like an hour away from the big cities, 6 months ago, a year and a half ago, people were talking, well, I'm gonna leave the city, drive an hour north, south of the big city, buy a cab, and I'll be working from home. And when I have to go to the city, well, gasoline's so cheap, I'll go to the city, no problem. But now with the price of gasoline that's gone really up, and the trend is that it's gonna continue to go up, a lot of the buyers are telling me, well, Gabriel, my project was to sell in the city and buy a property an hour away from Montreal and commute once in a while. But now my husband and I, we decided to stay close to the city because it's too expensive. If you don't own an electric car and you gotta pay for gasoline, again, that comes back to the budget. If I have to pay more money in terms of the interest, more money for the gasoline, more money for everything in our everyday life, like going to the groceries have gone up by 10, 15%. Well, you know what, Gabriel? We're sticking to where we are. We're not gonna move to the countryside. And a lot of buyers are reviewing their project of buying outside of the big cities. That's another trend we're seeing. And in terms of the spending habits of consumers, before COVID, people were spending money on different sorts of expenses, leisure, food, restaurants, events. During COVID, people were staying home, not spending money. The only thing they could spend money on is buying some stuff online and looking at houses on the internet and going to see some house and buying real estate. So real estate was taking a bigger portion of their budget, their spending. But now that we're seeing the end of the COVID, not sure when it's gonna end, but maybe in a couple of months, maybe a year, but surely we're starting to see that it's going towards the end. A lot of the buyers are not starting to look at their budget and say, you know what? I'm gonna allocate a smaller percentage of my budget towards real estate, and I'm gonna start maybe book a trip to this country and, spend more time with my kids and plan a whole bunch of activities because everything's open now. I'm gonna go to the movies just like we could 2 years back. So in other words, a smaller percentage of their budget, of their future expenses are planned towards real estate because now they have more options. And again, their salaries have not gone up, but expenses have gone up. So they have to look carefully at what they're spending and maybe say, you know what? Well, real estate, buying a new home now is too pricey. We'll stay home. We'll have more money for the kids to, our son wants to take some lessons, music lessons. Well, he'll take some music lessons. We'll plan a trip to this country or this city this summer. So in other words, less money allocated toward real estate. So now let's look at what I've been seeing myself as a realtor in terms of what is happening on the market, sellers, buyers, the trends. First thing I noticed is that my team and I, we list a lot of homes on the market for sale. And in the last couple of weeks, we list properties at a fair price, not an optimistic price, at the exact market value. And what we're starting to see is that we have less showings, less visits on this specific property. We're surprised, how? Only 8 showings, only 12 showings on this property. 2 months ago, 3 months ago, we would have got 50 different showings. So clearly, at the right market price, we price the homes, in other words, at the right price. We're not trying to be greedy and list it at the optimistic price that's unrealistic. We list at the realistic price, and we're surprised because we don't get as many people coming to see the house. But then again, I'm not surprised because if there's not as many buyers that are getting their letter of pre-approval, they're not renewing their letter of pre-approval, it's not surprising to see less buyers visiting the house I put for sale. So now in terms of the supply of homes, I've noticed a slight increase of homes for sale on the market. Not a lot. It's not a major trend. It's just a slight increase. But what I'm thinking right now, I'm like, okay, A lot of people are telling me that they can sense that we're getting closer to the end of this crazy real estate market. A lot of people are telling me that, well, I have a feeling. Buyers, sellers, bankers, they tell me that they have a feeling that we're getting close to the top of the mountain. And for potential sellers, people that own a house, that have been thinking about selling their home since the couple of weeks, couple of months, a lot of them might say, you know what, we're getting close to the end of this hot market. I don't want to miss it. If all of those sellers decide to put their house on the market, we could see an increase in supply of homes on the market. It's just a hypothesis right now. But when I speak to people in the industry, like I said, buyers, sellers, bankers, appraiser, they tell me that this would not be surprising. This would not be surprising at all, because it would make sense. If I was a potential seller, I would definitely want to put my house on the market right now if I want to sell. Because if the market starts to cool down, well, I could leave money on the table by waiting an extra 6 to 12 months. Again, hypothesis, but that's a feeling I have that I've developed in the last couple of weeks. Now, in terms of the numbers of offers we get on a single home for sale, a couple of months back, we used to have on a nice property, well-priced, 10, 15, 20, 25 offers on a single home. But now what we're starting to see is that less buyers. We get multiple offers, but it's 2, 3, 4 offers instead of 10, 12, 15, 20. So it's still good, but it's not as many offers that we get compared to early 2022. On some homes that are either really appealing, priced really low, or extremely well located, you might have still 10, 15 offers, but this was present even before COVID. When a house is extremely appealing, for a bunch of reasons, it will sell in multiple offers, especially if it's priced well. But what I'm seeing right now in the last couple of weeks, since the spring market started, less offers are presenting at the same time. We're still seeing sold price above asking by 50K, 75K, 100K, and it's really surprising. And I even had people making offers above asking when there were no other offer. And the logic behind it were like, hey, I don't want your sellers to think about it like for 24 hours and then another offer might come in. So I'm offering slightly above asking right now, even though there's no other offer, because I want to make sure that they'll accept my offer without any hesitation. So again, right now, less offers when we have multiple offers, but the quality of the offers are really great, which means that you could have 1 or 2 offers or 3 offers and having a great sold price. But the thing is, how long is this gonna last? We all know it's not gonna last forever. So at some point in the future, if interest rates keep going up, demand cools down, well, we might not see this kind of phenomena again in the future. So for now, we take it for those sellers that are selling. It's a great opportunity. On some occasions, I've seen that buyers were able to negotiate the price with a seller. I can't recall the last time I saw that, but in the last couple of weeks, I've seen asking price and sold price just below it. On some occasion, it's not a major trend right now, but I'm starting to see that. And for like 2 years, I haven't seen this kind of scenario. So I'm starting to see the negotiate come back to the market where the buyer can ask for some, sellers asking for 700. Well, it closed at 685. That's the last deal I saw yesterday. So it was a $15,000 negotiation between the seller and the buyer. It's not major, but we're starting to see that. Another thing I saw, one of my clients, a buyer, Guillaume, one of my good friends, he bought a house. We made an offer on a house. There were a total of 3 offers, us plus 2 other buyers. And we offered a full price, even though we were competing against 2 offers, because we were like, above asking is kind of risky. And my client, which is my friend Guillaume, he's like, I want to stick to 900. I don't care. I'll lose it if I don't have it. And the 3 offer, we found out later on that all the offer were at the asking price or slightly below. So we won the multiple offer by offering, the full price. And this again is surprising. It's not a major trend again, but I saw that and have members of my team that I've done the exact same thing, offered the full price, and they had an acceptance on their offer, which means that we're entering into a different real estate market. So what does that mean for you if you're planning on selling your home? How can you adapt to this changing market and those new trends? A few tips for you. If you're thinking about selling your home, make sure to list your home at a reasonable market price. Don't be optimistic on the pricing, because if you do that, you could stay on the market for a long time and see all the different houses on the market getting a sold sign on their sign, and you'll be sitting on the market for weeks, maybe months. So make sure to list at the realistic market price, which is reasonable. When you look at the comparables, you price it right, you'll sell it. In the near future, you might have more competitors, more homes on the market, which means that don't be surprised if you see more signs of homes on the market. And this could mean that your house, instead of being sold within a couple of days, it could take a couple of weeks. Don't panic. It's just supply, demand. If there's slightly more homes on the market, well, the buyers will compare. They might take an extra weekend of visits before making their decision. So this could be something that could be happening in the near future. During COVID, during the last 2 years, you could put a house on the market, not clean, not well maintained. It could sell multiple offer, 50K above. But this is because we were in the COVID market, we still are. Buyers were not as picky, but I've been a realtor since 2009, so I know that before COVID, buyers were really picky. The house had to be well maintained, well kept, clean, has to smell good. Everything has to be perfect for buyers to say, you know what, I'm falling in love with this specific house, I want to make an offer. So I think we would, if I were you, I'd put more emphasis on preparing your home before it enters on the market so you get good results. Again, during COVID, you could have 2 days of visits, 3 days of visits before you receive the offers. That was a trend. You visit on Saturday, Sunday, the seller receive the offers on Monday or Tuesday. But now that we're starting to see this market where the number of days on the market, in other words, it could take more than just a week to sell. If we're starting to see days on the market close to a month or two, well, I would suggest you would be your store and your house, which is a sort of a store when you're trying to sell. I suggest you have extended hour stores, which means that not just open on weekends, but having possibilities to visit your home all throughout the week, so you don't miss a potential buyer that wants to visit, for instance, on a Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. If you're just open on weekends, just like it was during the COVID, this is for the Montreal area. Maybe where you are, it's different, but during the COVID, we had fairly limited time to visit. So I would suggest opening the number of hours you're open to the public for visitors. This would definitely help. And lastly, I would review your expectations. I'll give you an example. Last week, I met a client. He's like, Gabriel, we're asking 700. I won't accept an offer below 800. I'm like, okay, so you right out of the gate, you want to have 100K above asking. I had to explain that the market was changing. And if the house was worth 700, everything at 700 and above is a bonus, is an extra. So as we transition into this changing market, we have to adapt. You have to adapt your expectation if you're planning to sell. You have to think, you know what, the market is changing. The price I'm asking is a reasonable price. I'm happy with that price, plus or minus a few $1,000. And if you enter the market with this mentality, this philosophy, this realistic view of the market, well, you won't be disappointed once you get the offers. This is it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video about the current real estate trends I'm seeing and how the market has been changing the last couple of weeks. If you have a project of buying or selling homes in the next couple of weeks, couple of months, my team and I, we're there to help. So just shoot us a text, write in the comments, and we'll follow up with you and make sure you have a smooth transition. In the meantime, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.